As we stated in the first video, in order to accomplish any goal, there will be a set of action steps that need to routinely be accomplished in order to obtain success. If you can simply routinely fulfill these action steps, then your goal will be achieved by default. This task, however, is more difficult than its obvious nature, and that's why so few people accomplish big goals in their lives. And that's exactly why we have the secret sauce. In this final ingredient, we will address the actual action steps of accomplishing any goal. And it's these simple tasks that we repeatedly have to do over and over again that are the problem. If we already have our desire, our belief, and we've counted the cost, then we most likely will be successful. If, however, we want to guarantee accomplishment while enjoying the process, then we need this final ingredient. Let's just call it the sweet of the secret sauce. Just to be clear, I'm not saying that you have to look forward to your to-do list or even that you need to enjoy every activity. What I am saying is that you absolutely have to extract some feeling of satisfaction after completion every single time. Now, to set up an example and a comparison of what we're talking about here, when I was 7 or 8, my sister started playing piano. And her instructor asked her to practice an hour a day when she wasn't at the class. My sister was practicing, but after probably a couple weeks she cried, and so my mom lowered the practice to 30 minutes a day. Now, eventually after a few months, this dropped down to 15 minutes a day. Then ultimately, it just consisted of her playing her 2 favorite tunes and then moving on with the rest of her daily activities. If nothing else, she was consistent. However, she didn't have a goal, and nor did she really care. She was never going to be an accomplished musician. Around the same time, there was a young boy in our church named Ivan. Ivan was a virtuoso. He was 10 years old and would literally headline concerts with him on a grand piano and others performing around him. One day, my sister and we cornered him in the parking lot and said, "How much do you practice?" And he said 5 hours. I said, "Well, how many days a week?" And he said 6. And I was like, "Well, 5 or 6, that's not much more than my sister plays. And yet you're so good." And he said, "No, 5 hours a day." And we were like, "What? You're lying." Seriously, up until that point in my life, I had never heard anything more ridiculous. Some kid practicing 6 days a week, 5 hours a day on a piano. I mean, he went to school. He had to do homework. He was a normal kid otherwise. But yet he still played 5 hours. I'm sure he would have rather been hanging out with his friends, playing video games or watching TV. But yet he still did it. And I'm sure that when the bell went off, he was glad it was over. But let's compare Ivan's experience with my experience. If I were required to sit down and practice piano for 5 hours for one day, my thought process at the end was that was somewhere on the spectrum of pain between a work camp in July in southern Louisiana, a gulag, and an electric chair. It was in that general vicinity. That's what I took from it. But let's compare that to Ivan. He probably was glad it was over, but he may have been working on some professional scale at a really fast speed, but he didn't make it. And so he's closing up all his stuff on the piano, and in the back of his mind, he's thinking, "I didn't get it, but tomorrow I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to nail it." And so he gets this strong sense of satisfaction of, "I just did what I need to do to be a master, and tomorrow I'm going to prove it." That's intense, and that will sustain you through hours and hours and years of effort. Now, Ivan was a master in a high-stakes world of performance, like Hollywood actors or Broadway or professional athletes. Most of us are never going to have that level of risk-reward to concentrate or focus and consistently get our to-do list finished. But that doesn't mean that we can't find fulfillment in other arenas. There are many reasons that people habitually do what they do, and they're predominantly personally based, meaning they're part of your personality. We'll focus on 4 of the most common. Number 1, task-oriented people. These are people that get an inordinate amount of satisfaction from completing tasks. I actually have coworkers that are like this. If they get a really long to-do list and they put a little check mark or they slash through it, if they get through it before the end of the workday, it's almost like they took a drug. It's really interesting. They'll get euphoric. If you can come up with a structure for your to-do list which makes it very objective so you can see it getting done, then it will increase the satisfaction satisfaction that you get from your to-do list. I call these people the Catholics in the gym world, the ones that come routinely and work out because after they work out, they're driving home and they're taking a shower. Their buzz of doing what they wanted to do and fulfilling their to-do list is still going. If you're like that, then that's my suggestion. The next one is people that are competitive. Now, competitive people love to pit themselves up, their effort or their skill against other people and even against standards or themselves. I call these the jocks in the gym world. These are the people that love to go into the gym and push their body, a challenge. They love a challenge. They love a really hard workout. They really don't like workouts where they are constrained by the group or by the music of an activity. Or they don't like just getting on an exercise bike and reading a book. That would be like hell to them. They love to break records like CrossFit people. They have benchmarks. If you can find some way in the process of your to-do list to make it competitive, then your level of satisfaction will go way up. Now we have the socially based people. These are the type of people that get a keen sense of fulfillment from going where everyone else is going. For example, most people are not big fans of boxing or mixed martial arts, but let's say that there's a title fight and it becomes a big deal with number one contenders and it starts to turn into a media circus where people are really interested and the pay-per-view goes way up and the number of Hollywood actors start to really pay attention and place bets and want to come and watch and pay a lot of money for the front row seats. And then suddenly it becomes this huge happening event that everyone wants to pay attention to. And so now you have these people that aren't normally fans of the sport, but they care because it becomes a social event, kind of like the Oscars. If you're a socially based person, then you need to make sure that you can incorporate your activities so that they include other people, either in location where there are a lot of other people around and a lot of activity, or that you do them with other people and you make that a group routine. And then finally, there are relationally based people. These are people that do activities and are consistent with activities because the people they like or enjoy are also doing the same activities. And it could be as simple as your spouse is doing this thing and you just want to hang out with them. For example, it's not uncommon for a wife or a girlfriend to do an activity with her husband or boyfriend simply because he really enjoys it. But there's nothing within them that wants to stalk another animal or kill it or hang out with a bunch of beer-drinking, overweight men and roll greasy balls down a lane, right? There's nothing. But because it's relationally based, then it starts to become very cohesive because they see the same people and they become almost extended friend or family networks. And these type of things are super powerful. So what you want to do is you can blend all of these if possible, but if you have a big goal and you have a lot of to-do lists, then if you can connect the dots with your personality, then with every time you go out and you accomplish a task that's related to your larger end goal, you can get that strong sense of satisfaction every time. Now, it's important to understand that just like when you counted the cost, that you need to take some time to understand yourself, your situation, and your options. So be open, be curious, and be full of grace. When you add this final ingredient, you will positively alter the process. And after it's all said and done, and you're telling your story of the secret of your success, you'll close with, "And that was one of the greatest experiences of my life."